Acharyas Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Prabhupada Om Vishnu Pad is Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakahosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Brajabhumi Dhamadam Ki Jai, Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Lachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mayi Ki Jai, Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, the most beautiful Lordship, Shri Shukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai, Shri Shukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai, Shri Gurnitai Ki Jai, Sumabeta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai. ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai, Brihad Madhaga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, Glory Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashna Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of God, and whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8. Today's text is 26. Pungsam Swakamaya Viviktamargair Abhyarchatam Kama Dukhankri Padmam Pradarsayantam Kripaya Nakhendu Mayuka Binanguli Charu Patram Pungsang Sakamaya Viviktamargair Abhyarchatang Kama Dughangri Padmam Pradarshayantang Kripayana Kendu Mayukka Binnanguli Charu Patram Pungsang Swakamaya Viviktamargaya Abhyarchatang Kama Dugangri Padmam Pradarshayantang Kripayana Kendu Mayuka Binnanguli Charu Patram Pungsang Sakamaya Viviktamargair Abhyarchatang Kama Dughangri Padmam Pradarshayantang Kripayana Kendu Mayuka Binanguli Charupatram. Please chant. Viviktamargaya. Artyachatam Kamadugangri Padmam. Pradarshayantang Kripayana Kendu. Mayuka Binanguli Charupatram. Pungsang Sukamaya Viviktamargaya. Abhyarchatam Kamadugangri Padmam. Padarshayantang Kripayana Kendu. Mayuka Binanguli Charupatram. Maya Viviktamargaya. Abhyarchatam Kamadugangri Padmam. Padarshayantang Kripayana Kendu. Mayuka Binanguli Charupatram. Vaishnavis. Pungsam Sakamaya Viviktamargaya. Abhyarchatam Kamadugangri Padmam. Padarshayantang Kripayana Kendu. Mayuka Binanguli Charupatram. Pungsam Sakamaya Viviktamargaya. Abhyarchatam Kamadugangri Padmam. Padarshayantang Kripayana Kendu. Mayuka Binanguli Charupatram. Pungsam Sakamaya Viviktamargaya. Okay, our usual technical difficulties here coming up. Okay, we're back on. So, synonyms. Pungsam, of the human being. Sakamaya, according to the desire. Viviktamargai, by the path of devotional service. Abhyarchatam, worshipped. Kamaduga Angri Padmam, the lotus feet of the Lord, which can award all desired fruits. Padarsayantam, while showing them. Kripaya, by causeless mercy. Nakha, nails. Indu, moon-like. Mayuka, rays. Pinna, divided. Anguli, figures. Charupatram, very beautiful. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of the transcendental rays from his moon-like toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a flower. Please repeat. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of the transcendental rays from his moon-like toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a flower. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The Lord fulfills the desires of everyone just as one desires. Pure devotees are interested in achieving the transcendental service of the Lord, which is non-different from him. Therefore, the Lord is the only desire of the pure devotees, and devotional service is the only spotless process for achieving his favor. Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that pure devotional service is jnana karmadhyanavrtam. Pure devotional service is without any tinge of speculative knowledge and fruitive activities. Such devotional service is able to award the pure devotee the highest result, namely, direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. According to the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, the Lord showed one of the many thousands of petals of his lotus feet. It is said, Brahmano sav anavaratam me dhyataha sutak parardhante so buddhyata gopavesho me purastat avirbhabhuva. After penetrating, and it's not penetrating, it should be meditating. After meditating for millions of years, Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of the Lord as Sri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy. And thus he recorded his experience in the Brahma Samhita in the famous prayer, Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Ahang Bhajami. Thus ends Srila Prabhupada's purport. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschachadeshtarine Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnang Shapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyahang Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishyavangsha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vatam Tang Sajivam Shadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayatam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vatangsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gauravrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Lord Brahma is seeking out the source of his existence, which we should all do. But because we're unaware, vast majority of people on this planet, they say there's more than 7 billion people, about 1.5 billion in China alone, another billion plus in India. Of course, nobody knows for sure, because by the time you start counting, more people are born and some have died. So there's no way you can get an exact count. But the point is, the human form of life is very, very rare. There are so many other species of life. They generally are not interested in finding out the source of their existence. They just want to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. That's it. That's their whole agenda. So human beings are meant to go beyond that. And typically, if we're not totally in the mode of ignorance, we are inquisitive to some degree. What's going to happen in the future? What happened in the past? We're interested in history, and generally we would like to have somebody tell us what's going to happen, but only if it's good. The good news is that there is always a future, because we're eternal. The bad news is that as long as you stay in this material world, the future is never bright. No matter what anybody tells you, it's never bright. We know, for one who's taken birth, death is certain. It's just a question of how, by which agent you're going to die. So this seems like there's no hope. Recently, I've been in a conversation online with a young man, and he's saying, "Can you show me the divine?" I don't believe there's a divine because nobody can show me. So I try to bring him along step by step, that first you have to look at other possibilities. What are the other possibilities? You can't have an infinite regression. I've said this many times, but it's worth meditating on. Lord Brahma here is meditating, so we should meditate. Actually, our whole process is meditation, but we know what to meditate on. So meditate on this fact. You can't have an infinite regression of cause and effect. You had a father, he had a father, he had a father, but there has to be an original father. It can't just keep going back ad infinitum with no. There has to be an original source. What is the nature of that original source? So he started to kind of get it, but still at the end he was asking, but you believe in the divine, you believe in the supreme, but can you show me? So then I gave him my classic argument on that point. Can you show me oxygen? Your life is dependent on that. If there's no oxygen in this room right now, as a matter of fact, please open the door so we get a little more oxygen. But if there's no oxygen in the room, we would all pass away, but we can't see oxygen. Such a vital element in your life, but you can't see it. Can you show me an oxygen molecule right now? No, we accept that it's there, and the evidence that it's there is that we're alive, we're breathing, and we're staying alive. So no one can show you oxygen, just like no one can necessarily show you God. So I told him, I said, I am under God's control. God is not under my control. So it's not that somebody who believes in God can bring God and say, here, this guy wants to see you, please show you. No, you can't. God is independent, completely independent, and he's completely in control. It's not under our control to trot out whenever we want. Hey, somebody wants to see you, please come out. No, it doesn't work like that. But there's a process, I told him. There are actually many processes, but the recommended process for this age is what we're following, the Bhakti Yoga process. So Lord Brahma, being the head of our Sampradaya, he's showing that example by, first of all, being curious about the source of his existence, and by following this Bhakti Yoga mark. So in commenting on this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, yes, one has to be pure. One has to practice pure devotion, free of jnana and karma, and we would also say free of yoga. There's three ways by which bhakti is contaminated. All bhakti can be contaminated, but mixed. Mixed devotional service means you're performing devotional service, chanting Hare Krishna, worshiping the deities, but you have material desires that you want fulfilled. You want to be rich, you want to be famous, like that. So Krishna can fulfill those desires. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said it's no problem. Actually, it's very easy for Krishna to fulfill all your material desires. It's not so easy for him to award you pure devotion. Why? Because by that pure devotion, he becomes trapped, practically. Krishna is trapped by the pure devotion of his pure devotees. So we should be careful to avoid that. No, don't worship Krishna with material motives. I want to be rich, famous, etc. Then there's Jnana Mishra Bhakti, where one wants to be known for one's scholarship. I'm worshiping Krishna, but I want to be known for my scholarship. I'm such a great scholar. I know so much. No, don't do that. Don't go there. Then, it's not mentioned in this purport, but there's Yoga Mishra Bhakti, where one wants to have mystic powers. One wants to have the power to control others. One wants to be able to demonstrate some kind of magic, walking on water, or becoming so small you can go through any opening anywhere. This is Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Now, of the three of them, this is the most appealing. It remains appealing to devotees. Because, like Sankirtan devotees go out every day, they're distributing books. Wouldn't it be nice that you can control a person and they have to take the book. They feel compelled to take the book. Wouldn't that be great? The scores would be like through the roof. They're already high, but every college professor that you approach, they would take a book. Every student you approach, they would take a book. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So sometimes devotees think like that. Krishna, please, let me just, But no, we perform our service and leave the result up to Krishna. That's the recommendation. Don't try to control others. Don't try to control the situation. Try to control yourself. If we can control ourselves, and that self-control is awarded to those who follow, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out in his commentary, Vaidhi Bhakti. In order to get to the point of pure devotion, you have to follow the Vaidhi Bhakti path, which means following the rules and regulations explicitly and thoroughly, trying your best to please the spiritual master, doing what the spiritual master recommends or orders, not trying to be overly creative. Sometimes we fall into that trap. We've been doing the same old thing for so long and I don't see where millions of people are joining, so maybe we should change something, do it a little differently. No, if the spiritual master agrees, yes, but otherwise just follow the same old formula. It worked to get you here, it worked to get so many others here in the past. Why do we think it won't work in the future? So it means chanting, dancing. Our Bhakta Howard, he has a t-shirt I just noticed the other day. There's a picture of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and then it says, chant, dance, eat, repeat. That's it. Chant Hare Krishna, dance in ecstasy. If the beat is getting to you, right? Naturally, you tap your feet, you start moving. And then when you get a little hungry, take prasadam and just repeat. Philosophy is there to convince you, but even if you're not ready for that, Prabhupada said they're so dull in this age, they can't understand philosophy. So just come here and eat. We were prepared to feed you. And just by that eating process, if you confine yourself to eating only Krishna prasadam, you will go back to Godhead. What's the difficulty? Where is the difficulty, Prabhupada would ask? There is no difficulty. So we should understand that this human form of life is very rare. There are so many others, 8 million other forms that one can be placed into by desire and what you deserve. If it was only by desire, everybody would be wealthy, everybody would be beautiful, everybody would live forever. Because that's obvious desire. But it's also by what you deserve. By what we deserve, if you act like a dog, you'll be put in a dog's body. You act like a demigod, you can attain demigodly life. If you become a devotee of Krishna, not just acting, but actually become a devotee, because some people act. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would say that we condemn those who use the deities as a nut for cracking stones. A stone for cracking nuts, sorry. A stone for cracking nuts. And he meant it literally because the Shalagram Shila, is a stone, but it's not just a stone, it's Krishna. Just like our supposedly marble deity is not just marble, it's Krishna. He has kindly agreed to come here and accept our service. So using this deity as a stone for cracking nuts means showing the deity, doing some worship, but the aim is to get the public to come and give money so I can live comfortably. Some people go down that road. We are advised strongly, don't go down that road. Don't show the deities just for attracting money so we can live comfortably. The deity is Krishna. He has agreed to come here and accept our service and display his beautiful lotus foot. This is another point that was made from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on today's verse, that raised foot that Brahma could see means that Krishna was showing him his original form at that point. Naturally, if he climbed down the lotus, he's going to meet Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So that was described with Sheshanaga, the bed of Sheshanaga, and Sheshanaga's hoods are there. But in this particular verse and the next verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the form that's being referred to is Krishna's form. So we know Krishna stands in Shribanga, threefold bending form with 1 foot raised. So this foot that Brahma is seeing and describing is that raised foot, that 1 foot raised. So we can see the marks on his lotus feet. Bhakti is ultimately meant to bring us to that point. First of all, we begin by meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. It's a meditation, and then we gradually rise up to the lotus legs, the waist, the chest, arms, and then the face. The lotus face is there. And a few days ago, Arjuna Gopa gave class, and he mentioned this nice verse about not just the face, the smile is the most beautiful part of Krishna. And there's a verse that says that Madaram, Madaram, Vaparasya, Madaram, Madaram, Vadanang, Madaram. Madagandam Mridus Mitad Etadaho, Madaram, 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 Madaram. You've heard that verse before, but it's again a meditation that Krishna's form, Madaram, Madaram, Vapur Asya, Vapu is the form, Vibho. So twice sweet, the form. Madaram, Madaram, Vadanam, Madaram. But the face, 3 times sweet. Madhuganda Mridu Smrita Detadaho. The smita, the smile on his face, Madaram, Madaram, Madaram. 4 times sweet. So the sweetest part of Krishna. But we shouldn't, again, try to jump directly to the face, which is equated to the 10th canto. We have to understand this part. First, second, and now we're in the 3rd canto. Describing clearly how we came into existence. First of all, there's Brahma on the lotus, and then after he gets his instructions from Krishna, then he creates the various planets and various bodies that the living entities will inhabit by their desire. As we've mentioned previously, that by desire, we're remaining in this material world. We have desires again for karma, for gyan, for yoga, not pure desire to serve Krishna. So until we get to that point of pure desire to serve Krishna, we will remain here. And why do we want to stay here? Kali Yuga is that age where everybody should want to get out. Any intelligent person looking around the world today can see it's falling apart rapidly. Conflict is only going to increase. We're praying every day that the conflict in Ukraine will stop. But based on the lifestyle that people are living, the conflict only increases. Why? Because a prominent part of their lifestyle still is wanton slaughter of animals. It's just unnecessary wanton slaughter of animals. And the payback, the karmic payback has to come. And Prabhupada said in many, many places, it comes in the form of war, pestilence, famine. These things are bound to be there as long as people continue to slaughter animals unnecessarily. And it's an unimaginable scale. For instance, in the oceans, as I mentioned, China has 1.5 billion people. And a lot of them are fish eaters. So to satisfy that desire, the Chinese have sent out a vast flotilla of factory ships. And people around the world are complaining because they park off the coast of South America, of Africa, everywhere around the globe. These Chinese ships are there and they're just raking the ocean, taking us all the fish they can get. So foolish. Even if you're a fish eater, use some intelligence. If you take them all out, how are they going to reproduce? And then you won't have any fish in a few years. Which is exactly what's happening. So in the past, fish eating wasn't so prominent. Only people who lived near the coast because there was no refrigeration. So they had to eat fresh, whatever they would call it. But nowadays, by scientific advancement, they have refrigerator ships. They go all around the world, take all the fish and freeze them. So by the time you get it on your table in China, it's months old. Literally, months old fish they're eating. And you think this is something great. How dumb we have become. You see? So dumb, so dull because of sinful activities. When you engage in sinful activities, you become dull. So dull to the point where you wreck your own existence and that of others on the planet. Poor animals have no recourse. Have no recourse. Even the biggest animals, like elephants. The Prophet tells a story, I think it's from the Hitopadesh, that one time there was a meeting of animals. You know, all the animals came together. What? They were complaining how the human beings are treating them. How, they're just being mistreated by humans. The donkey is forced to work and, the cows and the other animals are raised and slaughtered. And so the elephant came and he said, forget it. I am the biggest, strongest animal on the planet and they control me. You see? So there's no hope for them. So the point of that story is that Buddhayasya balam tasya, nirbuddhas na kato balam. that intelligence is strength. One who has no intelligence has no strength. That's the point. That even the biggest animal, like the elephant, so strong, cannot avoid being controlled and slaughtered by human beings. So this is misuse of human intelligence. Human beings are not meant to use their intelligence for controlling and profiting from the lives of animals. We're meant to do what Brahma is doing here. Try to find out, who am I? Where did I come from? What is my life meant for? What am I supposed to do with my life? Otherwise, if one doesn't go down the bhakti path, then one remains on the materialistic path and one is never satisfied. No matter how many millions and billions of dollars one acquires, one is still not satisfied. I don't have to tell you, you know, you have so many examples of people, perhaps in your own family, so many people have money, they have enough, but still they're not satisfied, to the point that they're always in conflict with their neighbors. And as long as this, again, this wanton slaughter of animals goes on, we're going to have all the catastrophes that we're having recently. Here in California, we're dying for more water. In Florida, they have too much water. They just had this Hurricane Ian that passed over. Storm surge was so high that like miles and miles inland, houses are flooded and people are, it's a disaster. It's a huge disaster there. So these disasters can only be avoided if one takes to the bhakti process. And people think this is so simplistic. You guys are telling me that if I just chant Hare Krishna, eat Krishna Prasadam and dance, that all my problems will be, yes! All problems, all social problems, all problems of crime, homelessness. That's another big thing that we're facing here in California. Not only the homegrown homeless, but other states are busing their homeless to California. You see? So, yes, the homelessness problem can be solved by Krishna consciousness. The war problem will be solved by Krishna consciousness. The crime problem, all problems. This is Lord Chaitanya's benediction for the age of Kali, because we're so dull and we don't live very long. Just chant Hare Krishna. So we have to be convinced. If we're not convinced, how can we convince others? There are no material solutions to material problems, only spiritual solutions. And that spiritual solution for this age is chant Hare Krishna, take Krishna Prasadam, dance, and yes, if you have the capacity, hear some philosophy that explains why it works. Why does it work? Because Krishna is there in the heart. And He's ready to purify our consciousness if we are ready to be purified. But if we keep one foot on the material side and the material boat, and then the other foot we try to put in the spiritual boat, we're going to just fall into the river of material existence. So we have to be very firm. Pick up both feet firmly planted on the bhakti boat, and then we'll cruise back to Godhead. Samashritaye padapalavaplavam mahatpadam punya yashomurari bhavam bodhir vatsapadam parampadam padam yat vipadam natesham. So here we're hearing today about Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna's lotus feet are the shelter of the entire material creation. Samashritaye padapalavaplavam. And they're compared to a boat. They're compared to a boat that one can take to cross over the ocean of material existence. Bhava roga means birth, death, old age, and disease. So one can cross over easily if one stays on that bhakti boat. Again, chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Taking Krishna Prasadam, where is the difficulty? Where is the difficulty? If you don't like what's being served at Govinda, then go buy some veggies and cook at home. But don't forget to offer it. Sometimes we excuse ourselves that it's okay, I buy a banana, I just peel it and eat it. No, Krishna says, Patram, Pushpam, Palam, Toyam, Yome Bhakta Prayasti. Patra means leaf, so leafy vegetables. Pushpam, flowers. Phalam, fruit. Krishna doesn't say you can just buy fruit and eat it. Where does he say that? Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam. Toyam means water. Even the water we should offer. We offer water on the altar every day. So if we offer everything before we eat it, then we're absolved from sinful reaction. But we become so lazy, which is the prime enemy of the living entity in Kali Yuga is laziness. We become so lazy to just have a little picture of Guru and Krishna, put that banana on a plate, ring the bell for a few minutes, and We become so lazy. I can't be bothered. I just want to eat a banana. Oh, okay, so then when the reaction comes, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. So we should try our best not to be lazy. Srila Prabhupada has given us everything we need, the philosophy that explains everything, the temples that we can come to and worship the Lord and do some service, association of such nice devotees, Harinam Sankirtan going out, we just have to join, get in the van and go. Book distribution, if we're so inclined, just get in the car with Dira or Brigu or whoever, they'll be happy to take you out, show you how to distribute books. Everything is there. Everything is there. We just have to stop being lazy and fully take shelter of this process, and Krishna will reveal his lotus feet with all the beautiful markings that are there. Interesting that on Krishna's lotus feet and on Radha's lotus feet, there's one animal in common. Who can say what that animal is? There's one animal form that appears both on Krishna's lotus feet and on Radharani's lotus feet. Fish. Who said it? Yes, there's a fish. So as I like to point out to those who claim that evolution, Krishna's lotus feet are eternal. Radharani's lotus feet are eternal. So if there's a fish depicted there, that means fish are eternal. It's not something that evolves from matter and then there is some fish that... No, the fish form is eternal. The human-like form is eternal because Krishna has the human-like form. All these forms are eternal. What form we're going to get next, that's up to us. What we deserve and what we desire. So if we are trained to desire only Krishna's pleasure by serving his representative guru, and if we do that, then gradually that's what we will deserve. And we won't have any more problems. We'll just chant, dance our way, eat our way back to Godhead. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, speaking of fruit.
Haribo. Question.